Hey, welcome to the Cheap Air Gunner channel. It's Cherokee Steve. I'm back down here doing some work on the Hatsan Flashpup. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to Brothers in Air. He's got a bunch of videos in regards to the Hatsan Flashpup. They're from a couple years ago, but just filled with really good information. And you know, I'm even being a new owner of a Flashpup, there really hasn't been very many changes made by Hatsan, with the exception of the bolt lever cocking action being replaced with the side lever. But now that I have some baseline numbers of where it was tuned by Hatsan to ship stock out of the box, I wanted to do some adjustment on the hammer spring tension. So I'm going to change the camera and get a better view of the gun itself. So basically, you're going to remove the upper part of the gun from the stock, and it's just two screws. I have the screws over here, two Phillips head screws. The shorter one goes in the back, which is accessed through a hole in this cross connection piece between the grip and the rear of the stock. This has a hole in it right here, and right above it is where the screw goes, the shorter of the two screws. The longer is the front one and is accessed through a hole that's right here in the front portion of the trigger guard. But you remove those two, and the upper actually comes out pretty easy. With one exception, and I'm going to get to that after I explain what I did with the hammer spring adjustment. You're going to want to cock the lever back, and in the backward position, right through that hole, as you can see right here, right through that hole is another Allen set screw. You're going to use a 2mm that's for locking the preload screw that goes through the middle of the hammer, through the back end. But you're going to use that, you're going to back it out to relieve the pressure on the preload screw. Now the preload screw is in the back. And is accessed through the hole in the middle of that slot right there. That uses a 4mm Allen wrench. Now right now I have everything tightened back down as far as this set screw, the 2mm on the side. But what I did was, after loosening that set screw, I came back here and I turned this, counting the turns, inward. From what I understand, based on the Brothers in Air video, you screw the preload screw in, and that takes tension off of the hammer spring. You turn it counterclockwise and you increase the tension on the hammer spring. So I turned it inward, counting the amount of turns as far as I could, and I could turn it 3 3/4 turns. 3 3/4 turns, and I couldn't turn it anymore. So that's where it was set from the factory, 3 3/4 turns out. Now I came back out an additional 3 turns, and I want to see what kind of power that gets me. Now that may turn the gun into a complete air hog, but it's as easy as this. It's very simple to access everything through lifting the upper portion of the gun out of the stock. The wooden dowel is just to support the gun. Now, getting back to what I was saying as far as after removing those 2 Phillips screws and having it lift out extremely easily, but there's one exception to doing that. Well, now that I've got everything where I want to test it, this is out now 6 3/4 turns total, or 3 turns out past where it was originally set. And I'm going to write that down and keep track of where it was stock and where I have it now. But before I get numbers, obviously I'm going to remove the Allen keys. Remove this wooden dowel. Now this won't just drop down. There does seem to be some pinching, some pressure here. Like this is slight, the width in the stock itself is slightly smaller than this, but as you go, if you want to remove the upper part of the gun from the stock, you undo the 2 Phillips screws. You're going to need a little bit of forcing to get it past that pinching I just mentioned. But after you do get it up, the trigger linkage is back here. Right? There's a wider portion to the trigger linkage that is definitely narrower than the slot of the stock. So to get it out, don't force it out. You don't want to screw up your trigger linkage at all, but you want to lift this and go forward, and the slot opens up wider, and then lift it out. And it's this portion right here that needs to come forward. Drop it back down below, and then it goes back down in. And I'm ready to put the Phillips screws back in. So I wanted to mention that, but we'll see where that 3 extra turns outward from stock gets me power-wise. So this is power testing, getting some velocity numbers with the hammer screw turn 3 extra turns out over stock. Using the same pellets, the Hatsan Vortex Supreme at 19.91 grain, to compare to those first shots I took with the gun stock. Let's see what we get. Big difference there on that first shot, as you can see. Let's see how the string plays out. .947 again. I'm going to reset the chronograph just in case. That isn't necessarily a repeat. So I'm going to finish out the rest of the 10 total shot, which is a full clip from what I've just done. I've got 947, I believe, may have been a non-reading reading on that second shot and 928 on the third, and I want to see if this follows that same curve, an upward trend at all and then down, or exactly what I'm going to get. One of the other things I've noticed is it is shooting lower than where I had it set with the scope before, which down here in my basement was dead on in the middle of the bullseye. So I may have to make some adjustments with it shooting a little bit hotter than it was before in the higher velocities. But I'll show you the chrony readings for the rest of the shots in order that they're taken, okay? So, as you can see, obviously the power went up. I did a 10-shot clip and I didn't get any readings below 900 feet per second. That initial shot, it does seem to be flattening out a little bit. I did have, it was a steady downward trend with the exception of that one shot. I believe it was at 920 feet per second. That kind of went up from the previous shot, but then the next shot went back down into the same range. So it is spitting out more power. It is using more air. After those 10 shots, the manometer is dead on 150 bar. Now I think it was 12 shots I took previously and it was slightly above 150 bar. So it's using a little bit more air. I like the power that it's at, as long as it shoots accurate. That would be the next step, is getting this shot at a longer distance than 10 meters and seeing if I can consistently hit the bullseye. So as far as adjusting the hammer spring, that has been done. I'm going to leave it where it is just for now until I can get some accuracy readings. So until the next one, stay safe and shoot safe.